Fey wine, does it really have the effect that it has in D&D? Well, not all D&D. One specific world online played it that way, that Fey wine got you a little excited, you might say. That's as far as we're going to go with that. But yeah, this is our Fey wine. It was started on February 12th, 2020, and bottled on February 18th, 2021, which is today, but not the day you're seeing it. It'll be a little later than that. Came out at 15.1%. Some people have asked me to notate the final gravity of it when we bottle. It was 1.004, which I believe to date is the driest wine we have bottled and showed on the show. And I am okay with that. So now, let's pour a little bit. And as always, we like to pour it into Glencairn glasses or some sort of glass that allows you to get a good sniff and a good taste. And because I'm a gentleman, Forrest, I pour for her first. Poor Forrest, he's going to hate me. I think I poured about the same.
Now, in the bottle, it has more of a
There's for color comparison.
rosy, peachy color.
A pinkish hue.
A pinkish hue. But in the
glass, it's a little more orange.
It seems more orangey, ambery, but you
got a
get
little amber.
a little tint of that pink, a little blush, maybe.
Yeah, pinkish hue. The scent on this is just honey and fruit. I mean, this has like raspberries and apples and all tons of stuff. I have notes.
I get a little bit of the rose as well. I get the floral note too.
Apples, raspberries, strawberries, rose petals, and apple juice, as well as 2 different kinds of honey and sugar. So this is like the everything concoction brew.
It is a nectar. And
this was an experiment. I'm sure you guys know that by now. And there was a couple of things along the way that made me go, no, I don't like this. No. And after some aging and some sitting, this is really nice. I think when we do the 1-year tasting on this, it's going to be like incredible. So maybe we should keep more bottles laying around. We got that one that needs to be drank sooner. 2 now. There's no foot. There's absolutely no foot. There's no green flavor. There's no anything like that. This is matured.
It's always had a really wonderful aroma, and it has maintained that, much to my pleasure.
Literally just honey and sweet fruits. Strawberry comes through.
Like yummy, juicy, ripe fruits.
Raspberry comes through. Apple, a little bit, not as strong as I thought it might. I was afraid the apple might be too strong. But it's actually quite nice. Now, somebody's going to ask me, is this a Sizer? Is this a Melomel? Is this a mead? Is this a wine?
Fey wine.
You know what it is? Yes. It's all of those things all in one, which makes it really a wine, if you want to get technical. It's not really got enough honey in it to make it a mead and all that. So it's a wine.
I could just smell this forever and ever and be happy.
Well, actually, no, you can't because it'll change over time. So.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna do my short sip. Now, the short sip is just to acclimate your palate, get you used to the flavors and the amount of alcohol, which is 15.1% on this one. The intent is to get it in your mouth and get it down as fast as possible.
And when you do that and you don't really allow yourself to explore it, you do get some of the off notes.
You get like a shock.
It's like almost enhanced. Because your palate is getting
I got a little more of the bitterness that time than when we tasted it at bottling. Still quite pleasant flavors.
Oh, yeah.
The apple comes through on the flavor a little bit more now than I remember it. It's really nice though. What do you think of the short sip?
Yeah,
I know you hate the short sip. But...
excuse me. It does have those astringent, tannic kind of but then you're like, oh wait, there's some good stuff
There's
here, but I've already
definitely
swallowed, so I wasn't able to experience it.
there's definitely like a residual sweetness there. The finish isn't overly long. I thought it would be longer.
No.
It's got a complex flavor, but everything melded together nicely. I will say that. I think it's time for a long sip. This is Derica's favorite part. Mm. Rich and velvety is the two things that come to mind for me.
Now, after taking the short sip, doing the long sip, instead of getting those weird flavors, it came out more like a white wine. So I wasn't, I guess it was prepared because of the short sip, prepared my palate to receive the bountiful glory that is Fey wine. And so my initial presence turned from tannic and bitter to more of a white wine sensation where it's cleansing. All those things crisp. Are still there, but it's got a crisp cleansing beginning on it. And then I'm getting the honey nuances slowly creeping in there and all the flavorful fruits.
Right.
And the floral notes come closer to the end, kind of rounding everything together for me. And then the aftertaste, again, goes back to the beginning, and it has that almost cleansing sensation, which leads me to what I would pair this with.
Well, you're not there yet, because I got to do mine.
That's why I stopped.
On the entrance, I got a little bit of sweetness right away. There's just a touch, that fruity honey sweetness. And then I got a bunch of fruity flavor in there. She said white wine, and I see where she's coming from with that. But I think, to me, the berries and the strawberries and the raspberries, that make me immediately think rosé or red. I can't go white on that. So I'm not getting the white, so to speak, but the crispness is what she's going after, and I totally get that. There's ways to do tastings, and there's ways to flavor things. Basically, you're looking at like tannins, which add body and mouthfeel, complexity, that kind of thing. They can make it feel richer in your mouth. There's acids that make it feel brighter in your mouth or add a little bit of sharpness to the bite. And then you have sweetness, and sweetness can round those things out. And the combination of those three things is what you're looking for in a final product. And they can vary. You don't necessarily want them to be equal in your brew. You want them to be just right. To me, this is ever so slightly acidic, just a touch, and that could be the apples, okay? But it's not like it's horrible acidic, just a little bit. It's a little too acidic on the finish for me. But when I say a little too much, I mean it's like maybe 10% too much. I'm being very nitpicky because, I got to give this a number in a couple minutes. Sweetness level, I think, is just right. My palate wants to say a little bit sweeter, but my brain is saying no. So I'm not going sweeter. Tannin level, I think, is spot on. That is perfect for
and
this.
We've talked about this multiple times before with the flavor triangle. And when you have your base notes, which in this case is the fruits and the floral notes, and then you're going to add the tannins and the acids, those are just to give some punch to the base notes so that they can bloom and blossom even more, pun intended. So you don't typically want to have equal amounts of tannins and acids, because then it just gets kind of too loud, if you want to use a musical term.
Sure.
So you want to go slightly in one direction or the other. And so in this case, we went slightly in the acidic end of the spectrum rather than the tannin. And I think for this was a perfect choice, because to me, it's accentuating the bright, sweet, ripe fruit notes and the floral notes, where I think if it was more on the tannic side, then I would get more of a sensation of darker aged or even dried fruits rather than the bright, fresh fruit notes that I'm getting with the acid side.
I still would say 10% too much acidity, which makes it not perfect. So you already know I'm not going super sky high, but I like this though. Considering how dry this is, the fact that we're both enjoying it is a little unusual and a little surprising. We've been going a little drier with our brews, and our tastes, but this is the driest that we've gone. I mean, most people would say that's dry. 1.004, that's dry. Would you like some more, sweetheart? Because there's a whole bottle here and there's a bunch more. Anyway, so what would you pair this with?
Immediately, I think of a fruit and cheese plate. I think this would be spectacular paired with fruit and cheese.
Yes, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. I could eat this with like a pasta dish, something, a white sauce or an oil sauce pasta type dish.
Nothing
Red
too
sauce,
rich.
I think it's a little too much.
Something light, something airy,
The acidity will cut through fatty foods like duck and beef quite nicely. I mean, it would pair well with like a stew, just like beef stew. You can go from simple to sophisticated with this one.
I would not pair this with a beef stew.
I would, totally.
You can totally drink that with your beef stew.
I'm a bigger fan of beef stew than you are, even though we don't eat that anymore.
No.
But I think this goes from simple to sophisticated. It covers the whole gamut. It's actually got a lot of range. And I think with food, it would even expand a bit more and show us more than what it has right now.
So when Brian was talking about that, I was letting my mind wander and expand all the different things that I've eaten and what would go with it. And I came to a surprising location, and that was French fries. There is a restaurant beachside that we used to go eat at a lot, and they had a really nice charcuterie plate, but they also would do crazy things with French fries and like just put all sorts of weird stuff on top of French fries.
You dipped them in wine.
And so that made me think, oh, the fatty, crazy French fry plate with this would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I could see cooking with this too, like using this to deglaze pans, adding to sauces. It would be wonderful for that. It's got a fruity flavor, but it's almost a neutral-ish fruity, so it doesn't come across as like strawberry.
Right. It's more of a
fruit in general.
Berry. I think it's more berry, but I can see the apple and pear, like the lighter fruit in that spectrum as well.
Pear comes through in this too. Like you just said that and I went, yep. That's what I was tasting. Excuse me. That's what I was tasting. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but there was another fruit there that I wasn't getting that I know wasn't in the ingredients list.
Yeah.
Pear. Yeah, she's absolutely right. I don't know what caused pear, but it does happen. This is a cook with, eat with. Honestly, I could probably put this in a glass and drink it on its own.
I totally could.
Which is unusual for me to say that about a florally, fruity beverage, but it's dry.
Again, I'm getting a specific time of year that I would want to drink this, though. Lots of the spiced methylene stuff reminds me of the holidays and winter and fall, and that's when I want to drink it because it evokes those emotions and memories for me. Where this seems very much a spring or summer.
Early summer.
And so that's when I would want to drink it because then I would think of fields of flowers and dancing around the maypole and all that fun stuff.
That's what we need, a maypole. Think your dad could put up a maypole for us?
Sure. I don't know where, but sure.
In the street out front. Just, block off the streets. Okay. Okay, it's Derica's most dreaded time for every video. Wow, she's pretty sure on this one, I think. Okay, so we're going to give a score from 1 through 10. 1 is something that we probably wouldn't serve to our worst enemy and might even be dangerous to drink. 10 means, as this recipe stands, there's really no way to improve upon it without drastically changing the character of the brew itself. In other words, like for this one, leave out all the fruits and make it something else. That's not improving it. That's changing it completely. So based on those criteria, also the third is 5 is our midpoint. 5 means we consider it to be good.
Right.
It's something very drinkable. Maybe not our favorite, but it's something very good. Below 4 is something that I'd probably say, I'm probably not going to drink that. All right. You have a score?
I do.
1, 2, 3. 8.5.
Oh!
I was not expecting you to say that. I thought you were going to go higher.
No.
All right, so ladies first, even though we had the same score. We already know why you're going there, but what would you say would improve it?
I don't know. I really enjoy the fruitiness, but I feel like it's not fruity forward.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I don't know.
I agree.
It's like I get hints of it, and I'm like, oh, if that was only a push just a little bit more,
yeah,
that would be perfect. And I'm like Brian said, he didn't really enjoy the acidity of it.
No. I said it's about 10% too much. That's not the same as not enjoying it.
Okay,
just to be clear.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't have given it an 8.5 if I didn't enjoy
the
it.
acidity isn't bothering me. The balance and the play between the tannins and the acidity isn't bothering me. The sweetness level, shockingly enough, is not bothering me. I just want more intense fruity flavor. I don't want a different fruity flavor. I just want what's there to be intensified.
Yeah. My thing is this. Let's say we have fruity flavor, tannins, and acids, right? I would like the acid to come down a touch and the fruity flavors to go up a touch. And this would be spectacular tasting. Right now, I mean, an 8.5 from both of us is a really, really good score, especially for something this dry. I know I keep saying that, but that's important to know. If you're a longtime watcher of the show, you know, we tend to like things sweet. Yeah, we're trying to do things not so sweet, but that's besides the point. The fact that we enjoy it is a big deal. And this is really good. I mean, this is one of our top 10 probably that we've done since we've done scores.
To be honest with you, I am tickled pink about that because from the very beginning it smelled and looked so wonderful.
Except for that one time I stuck my nose in it and almost passed out.
Well, that was right when you opened it after the first time.
Yeah, this was
don't
nuts.
do that. So to get the flavor up there comparative to the aroma and the color, I'm really, really happy. So I am perfectly fine giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, as far as like if I was to redo this, the things that I would change, I might just up the fruit content. That's about it. Reducing the acids is a little more complex of an issue, but upping the fruit will actually reduce the acids slightly too, especially if I put in more like, say, strawberries, which have a lot of citric acid, but not the same as like raspberries, which is a stronger, to me, it's a stronger acidic flavor. Take out some of the apple, I think. I might remove some apple.
And since we're getting pear from it already, maybe add pear.
Adding pear to this would be a plus, I think. That would be a really, really cool thing. But basically, as she said, this was a 1 year in the making. It's 53 weeks, like pretty much to the day that we're tasting it after putting it in the first fermenter. And wow, what a journey it's been on this one. But in the end, as she said, this was so worth the effort. And it proves a lot of things. You can let it sit. You don't have to worry about it. Things will always get better. You can adjust your recipe as you go. I mean, this was like my nightmare brew. Things were frozen when I was putting them in and everything. We almost did it like as a spoof to say, here's all the stuff we can screw up in one recipe. And it came out an 8.5. So, you know, have patience with your brews. They will always get better.
Never surrender.
Oh, God. I'd rather go with time heals all brews. And if you like this video, look up. There's another one up there. You might like that one too.